Good evening and welcome to my channel. And in the UK, it's quite late in the evening. And thank you for everyone who has been helping my channel, who have been subscribing, who have been sharing my channel with their family, friends, and with colleagues. Thank you for those who have been giving feedback, those who have been liking the channel, and thank you also if you haven't actually viewed my videos. I know people are actually quite busy because people are doing different things at different times, and that's a good thing. And I'm so grateful that I've had this opportunity. It's now coming to 4 weeks of the project, but the channel itself was created 10 years ago. The channel has been inactive, and it has been active for it's coming down to 4 weeks. Time really flies, and it's so amazing. It's actually a great experience, and it's a lot of self-discovering happening, and learning new things, how to improve on presentation, do research, and discuss issues at the outset of my videoing. To start being active, I chose the topic of the cost of living because everyone is talking about it, and it's set to continue for a long time. The cost of living, as I speak of, is actually crisis, which has been happening. Yeah, many factors has contributed to the cost of living, and been attempting time and again, and I'll continue to do so. I live in the UK. I will be looking at the UK experience. What actually I will look at the wider issue of the causes, the primary causes, and all the other aspects of why we have the cost of living. We have the obvious of the war in Ukraine. We also have COVID-19 and Brexit here in Europe. And across the globe, we have wars, we have very many factors, but I'll be looking at a broader perspective, political policy and administrative, as well as the law. We'll also, in the UK, we'll be looking at other help the government is giving. I will be repeating most of the points because we are a new channel. Other people will have missed a lot of the discussion we have been carrying out. And going forward, I'm going to be more specific to certain aspects of discussion. But for the moment, because we are new and a lot of people have been missing out, so I'll be repeating the point, and I will also be talking broadly on aspects surrounding the cost of living, such as to say, looking at the idea, landscape of support from the state. We looked at the welfare state. We look at the public sector. We also look at the systems of the economy, of the political. We will be looking at cultural and all other aspects which affect the way we live, the way government operates, the way policies are made, and how laws are set and implemented. All these are important backgrounds so that people have a broader logic. I mean, a lot of people, if you speak to them about the cost of living, they are so confused. They really don't understand why the cost of living is happening, and some people are completely puzzled, and they try to figure out in a country like Britain, for example, the sixth richest economy in the world. How can people be so poor? How can people struggle? Because the cost of living, as I said, is evidence that there are a group of people in this country who are actually poor, people who cannot afford. And I've also said in my other video, please watch them, and connect them with any other video because they are quite connected. You find that people who actually are rich, who are actually the 10 or 15 or 20% of the population, who are actually millionaires, who are billionaires, these people are wealthy, and they don't have to work for a living, and they don't actually experience the cost of living. The people who experience the cost of living are the majority of 80 to a 90% who have to work for a living. So the definition of poverty in Britain and across the globe, if you have to work for a living, consider yourself poor. People may or may not agree with this, but this is the reality. And that is actually why the cost of living is happening. Because there are poor people in this country, there are poor people across the globe. Actually, the real world is that there are more poor people in the world than rich people. 80%, because 80 to 90% of the population work for a living. You have to work for a living. I'm not saying rich people don't work, they do. But they work, but they don't have to work for a living. Poor people have to work for a living. And the government runs the country, any country in the world, in Europe, in America, in Asia, the Middle East, in Africa. Governments run the country. They set laws, and people are required to comply with the law. People are actually required to understand government policies. People are required to understand the nature of public services, private services. And public services are the product of government policy on the public sector, public economy. And in the UK, across the globe, we have the public, private, and the voluntary sector of the economy. The changes being made by the government across the globe is that the public and the voluntary sectors are being closed down and being replaced by the private sector. The private sector is consistent with capitalism, individualism, freedom of the the free market system. Uh, the market system, I said in the other video, and I repeat it here, is that it's about money. They are there to make money. They are not there to help people. So if the government closes down the public sector, the government is actually saying they're no longer helping people. And people who are poor, the 90% of the population who are actually poor in this country and other countries, are excluded from the wealth of the nations. So the answer I said in my last video is that people have to really change the way they think, and they change the way they behave, and actually modify your expectation. Begin to think how to help yourself other than thinking the government is going to help you. Because the government has said over and again that is not going to help you. There is the current government being headed by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party at the current time are mainly right wing. Right wing people who are pro market, and on the extreme wing of the party. They support market system. They don't like the public sector. And whether they like the public sector or not, the public sector is closing down. It is already closed down. What is left is being tidied. How in the next 30 to 40 to 50 years, there will be no private public sector. There will be no public service maybe in the next 100 years. That may not sound enough, but the effect now is what we are experiencing, because more and more there's going to be less and less public sector. There's going to be less and less employment. There's going to be less and less hospital schools, free accessible schools and hospital. There are going to be less access to transport. Everything will not be there. There will be nothing available for anyone. People will not afford food. People will not afford energy, because this was provided by the public sector. Nothing was being provided by the private sector. The private sector, what it does is actually to generate wealth for the country. And this country, which wealth actually goes direct to the 10% of the population who are wealthy. And private sector has nothing for the poor. The only reason the private sector are interested in the poor people because of at least one thing. They need those people to work to build their businesses, because the only reason um, businesses recruit employment is because they want employees to work to create wealth for them. As soon as the private sector gets technology, they will stop employing people. So the argument that the private sector create jobs is wrong, is false, is not true. The private sector does not create jobs at all. The private sector only creates jobs, enough jobs to support what it needs to run its businesses, whether it is industry, whether it is commerce, whether it is trade, name it. The private sector will never, ever, ever create any jobs for anyone. Let us not be fooled. Employment creation is a part of welfare state. In that, the government goes out its way to put money into the economy to create jobs. If the private sector is closed down, I will be repeating these points over and over, and some people may not like it, and others may like it, but whether you like it or not, these things are extremely important, because we can go to the government to get the cost of living support, which is there. I've been discussing it actually and over because I'm developing the discussion, and people who are interested, and people should be interested because it's your life. And people take sometimes very lightly the idea of the welfare state because they work. They don't realize that the reason they work because there is welfare state. Some people think welfare states are for unemployed people. Welfare states are more for employed people than for unemployed people, because the primary source of income in this country is actually employment. You see, employment, government policy actually on public sector, in the public sector economy, in the social sector, employment is actually a form of social sector services and production. You cannot create jobs in a country unless you have a public sector, unless you have a social sector, period. Like I said, the function of the public private sector is not to create jobs. It's not to distribute wealth to anyone. It doesn't give money. It doesn't do charity. Private sector, if it does charity, it does it for commercial reason. I mean, if a private business comes to you and says, "We are giving you free vehicles, we're giving you free this, free that, free that," they are after something. They want to get something from you, or they want to get something. Then they're going to get something from what they give. The private sector doesn't give money. They don't do charity. That is not why they are created. Their culture is such that the culture of private economy is that they don't give anything to anyone. It doesn't matter how rich they are. It doesn't matter whether they have billions, even if they have trillions as individuals. They will never give you a penny. That is their culture. Is a good thing, is a bad thing? You leave a comment below and let me know. People need to answer. You need to listen to this very, very, very carefully. Private sector doesn't give money to anyone. They are not trained to do that. They are not allowed to do that. It's a cultural thing. Whereas the culture of the public sector is naturally to give and give and give and give. And actually, sometimes they can't try to take money from rich people and give it to the poor. So now, rich people are so resentful. Actually, rich people are really, really, really disliking of the public sector, because the public sector does really horrible things to private individuals. It does terrible things, but it does it. If If public sector were to be implemented, rich people were going to be poor, and that is the truth. If it was implemented the way it should, the rich people will be poor in a matter of years. And this is something they are not in happy with. See, if you want to upset rich people, millionaires, billionaires, mention the public sector. And that's why they support political parties who are anti public sector. It's like a war. It's like an ending war between the rich and the poor. The only problem is that for the rich is that the poor are actually many in number. So if they start fighting, if rich people start fighting with poor people will lose because numbers, because of united you stand, divided you fall. I mean, if you're poor, you're poor. I mean, if you're few, you're few. If there's a war, conflict between the rich and the poor, rich people will lose. And most people who are actually in government, who are rulers, are also actually the ruling class are actually also the wealthy class. So most people who rules are actually pro privatization. The politically, and for some reason politically, they decided to create the public sector. But now the ruling class, who are actually multimillionaires, they have vested interest in promoting the upper class, the wealthy class. They introduce the public sector. They introduce the public sector to actually try and control society. The reason they created the public sector is to provide stability, because the numbers of the poor people were increasing. So they introduced politics. Politics is actually talking to people in a nice way, so that people are loyal, people are actually peaceful. The government doesn't want rioting. They don't want civil unrest. That's why the public sector was created. The public sector was created to make poor people happy. It's like a sleeping pill. The public sector sent poor people to sleep, knowing that the government is really being nice to them. The government represented themselves as a nanny, or a nanny, actually babysitters. They send children to sleep when children are kind of like agitated, when children are actually distressed. A nanny actually knows how to lull them into sleeping, and that's what, like giving a patient who is distressed a sleeping pill. That is what the public sector did to poor people. But also the public sector is also sometimes intervened when there is war, and states have been fighting serious wars. And sometimes the public sector intervenes to prop up the industry, to manufacture weapons, and to manufacture, to try and build the economy, artificially build the economy. The focus is to build the economy, so that the wealth can be used to build a weapon of war. The reason I say it is because the idea of peace is actually war. Modern societies are created through violence. Modern society was not created peacefully at all, and therefore it's going to, if there is to be any resolution to any situation in the world, it's going to be resolved by war. And that is it. I mean, that's why modern governments have continued to fight in different ways. Sometimes they fight with bombs, with guns, militarily. Sometimes they fight economically. Sometimes they use psychological warfare. Sometimes they use biological warfare. Sometimes they use all sorts of weapons. Society is at war all the time. Human beings are always fighting, including children, and I mean, I say this so that people have to really start thinking. Because I believe there's a solution to this. That's why I'm talking like this. I'm not talking. I'm not trying to make people miserable. If you want to be miserable, be miserable. But be miserable. You're allowed because it's a free country. You're allowed to be miserable. But also remember that in as much as you might be miserable, you need to realize that there is a way. There's hope. There's hope because we people can learn. We can also change. We can decide not to fight. It's a cultural scenario because it's a cultural scenario where people can really learn to live peacefully. It's about education. So there is hope there. People can change. And if there was not change, there was no change, I would probably be talking here. Because the reason I'm talking here is that I believe people should be free to speak. This channel is to promote, is primarily to support freedom of speech. And I believe if people speak, they're going to be free. They're going to start a process of healing. They're going to start a process of bringing change. And that is a factor also in the cost of living, because the cost of living needs solution. There's a problem needing solution. Some of the problems are actually there. The solutions are there given by the state. I spoke about it in the other videos. I will be speaking about it in the coming videos. When I speak of other aspects, the surrounding situation involving not just the cost of living, but I'm trying to take a holistic approach so that people look at the broad concepts surrounding different aspects of issues, and especially the trigger of the cost of living. Because if you understand the source of the problem, you can solve it. Sometimes you solve it by changing your social situation and your emotional situation, your intellectual habits. You think, you know, you socialize more. You think of yourself, you think of other people. You respect yourself, you respect others. You know, you pay attention to children, to family, and community, society. You help each other. That is actually a very good way of changing your habits. Apart from other, obvious things like managing your money, getting ideas from friends, from family, going online on the internet to look for information, how to manage your budget, how to look at your income, your outgoing, your expenditure, how to manage debt, how to look for work, how to train for work, how to, if you're still younger, how to consider going back to uni. Some young people have not gone to uni, they don't want to go to uni. For whatever reason, they just think going to uni is a waste of time. But if there is a cost of living like this, and if there is also a problem to do with employment, you know that the private sector is closing down, you know that the private sector is not there to help you, you know that there are going to be no jobs because technology is taking away work, employment is ending because of technology, in part because of also privatization on the other end. Privatization cannot exist side by side um, with the public, with nationalization. Nationalization has stopped. It's a thing of the past, it's history. Whatever is left now is residual. Is the impact of nationalization, of national, of public economy. Is gone. It's gone, dead and buried. If you're going to talk about anything, don't talk about public sector. Don't talk about social sector. Stop talk about schools. If you don't have money, stop talk about schools. Stop talk about jobs. If you don't have money, you should stop talk about food. Stop talk about energy. You're not going to have food. You're not going to have energy at all if you don't. If you're not working, you have to create your own jobs from now on. Because as long as there is still need for trade, trade is what you buy and what you sell, or what you produce and what you sell, or what you buy. In other words, um, it's called business. Do business. Start learning how to do business. Teach your children how to do business, because um, if the machine takes over jobs, there are going to be less and less jobs. But I also said in the video that if the machine become fully operational, then there will be no need for trade. So the economy will shut down. The private sector, the public sector, everything will shut down. There will be production of goods and services for free, because the machines are intelligent, the machines are automated, they will build themselves. All you need to actually program them. All you have to need to program them. Sometimes they even program themselves. When I see this happening, because they are signs now that the machine is going to really evolve and run the economy. Humans will no longer run the economy. It's going to be a machine. They will produce goods and services at no extra cost, because they will be automated. They will be capable physically, mentally. They might even maybe evolve into some emotional machine creatures. I don't know. But definitely, in maybe 100 to 200 years, we will not be there, because our grandchildren will be there. But now, I'm mentioning this because right now, the changes are actually happening, where there are going to be less and less jobs, because the more machine we have, the less jobs we are going to have. So the less jobs we are going to have, and there being no public sector, we will be needing to do business. So the message is now do business. Start thinking to do business now, because that's where the change is going. You'll be losing your job. If you have a job, do it. And as long as you have your job, do it. I mean, do what you want to do. If you don't want to work, there is still benefit. It's still there. You go and get benefit. But I can tell you that it's so difficult to get benefit, because if you leave a job now, something which didn't used to happen before, if you leave work now, the DW in England, in the UK, the Department of Work and Pension is going to ask you why you left work. In the past, they didn't do this. They're not doing this because the government doesn't want people to get benefit, because the government doesn't have money to finance social services. The social services is part of the public sector, because the public sector is being closed down. So anything associated with the public sector, in immigration, hospital, employment, benefit is the money you get in Britain. In another world, you may call it something else. You get things also from the government as benefit. I've been mentioning this over and over and over, because I know other people are not watching the video yet. We are new. We are only 4 weeks today, and as we go along, I will be discussing many aspects of social issues, maybe political issues as well, maybe legal issues, and we'll be looking at that. Maybe the cost of living will still feature there. The cost of living will always be there, but it's a crisis. It may change, it may get better, but I don't see it getting better anytime soon. It could get worse. In the next 5 to 10 years, we could still be experiencing terrible situation to do with the cost of living. So people need to be prepared, and this channel might help. We're still new. We may not really be as organized as I would like us to be, but things will get better with this channel and with other places. Just go online, go on YouTube, go on wherever you think you might get information, especially online information, including social media. There are a lot of information out there. My channel is building up to be a part of that information resources, but more than information and knowledge maybe, and also opportunities. I am trying to encourage a situation of free speech. That is very important, because when people speak, people begin to solve problems. People begin to build social relationship interactions with the global economy. People actually interacting locally, globally, and going forward, I will be talking about globalization as part of the cost of living. And maybe if not, it's not going to be today, but tomorrow I will be start talking about globalization as a perspective on the cost of living, and I will connect them. But there's something I want to comment briefly before I finish. And the UK government, I said it before, if something happens in Britain, if something happens in the West, if something happens in the developed world because of the global system, it's probably likely to be happening in the Middle East, probably happening in Africa. So pay attention to what happened in the world, because there's something called globalization. It's so important for you to understand it. Go online, come to social media like videos and producing, understand this thing, because you are responsible for your life. The government used to be responsible for you. From now on, you are on your own. Make friends in the social media. Make friends with your siblings, your sisters, your brothers and sisters, with your parents. We are going back to basics. Self-reliance, reliance on our family, reliance on our communities, and on well wishes. It's going to be very tough. Some people might even die of lack of food. Africans were already dying of food because of war, because of diseases. It's happening in Africa. It's happening in this country. People are committing suicide because they are so frustrated because of stress, and people are getting a lot of help from different places. There is help in the UK, and there are help in the developed world. The IMF and the World Bank have been financing Africa. They have specifically told African countries, this is about globalization. They have told African countries to build infrastructure to do with the economic, to do with other cultural institutions and health institutions. They have told African countries specifically not to invest on social welfare. They don't, because you see, globalization is about marketization, about the private sector. There is no public sector under globalization, and globalization is actually the mode of operations in terms of economic, in terms of politics, and in terms of culture. However you look at it, you need to understand what globalization is. I'm going to be talking about it, and I'm not an expert on globalization or anything, but I'll be doing research and actually, based on my other experience, I'll be talking about it. And leave a comment below and let me know what you think. If you think it's a good idea to do it, if you think it's not, how to do it, just leave a comment below and let me know. And also subscribe and support this channel. You have been very good to me. You've been very good to my subscribers, people who actually support me. I hope you will join us and really be part of this wonderful big family. The UK government, for those who are in the UK, um, the UK government are very clear, and this is actually a right-wing government, which is consistent to a right-wing agenda known as globalization. Globalization is a right-wing agenda. That's why the conservatives are very powerful, because they have allies around the world. Um, um, in Africa, they are now focusing on globalization, which is actually the same. Globalization is the same as privatization. It's the same as right wing. Politically, it's a right wing agenda, which is a form of dictatorship, actually. Remember the dictatorship in Germany under Hitler? That was the extreme right wing. It's coming back. Globalization is not really about democracy at all. If democracy means freedom from the state, it's a contradiction in terms. It doesn't work. It's not working. People are just making money. Politically, democracy is suspended because democracy with so many poor people doesn't work. And only 10% of the population is rich and have access to anything. Democracy is suspended. We are going to on a survival mode to try and use the economy to build the culture. The culture is going to produce democracy in the future, because with When we shut down the public sector, democracy was suspended because if we stop caring for the people, the majority of the people, that's the end of democracy. So capitalism made a stop to democracy. Democracy is now history. That is, we are going to see dictatorship going forward. With globalization is about dictatorship. It's about super states. Different states of the world are going to come together and combine into one state. Different head of states will come together and elect one head of state of the world. There is going to be one president of the world, and he's going to have absolute power. Absolute power. I mean, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, the new world order is going to contain a state, a government, a one world government, which are actually so corrupt, so violent, and there are going to be more wars. That is why, right now, those who want peace should actually begin to embrace the new cultural economy. That is a coin, a word, a terminology I've created. I've coined that. Nobody knows about it except me. If you think I'm stupid or something, just say it. Leave a comment below, but don't use the word stupid because it's rude. Say it in a nice way. That probably I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do. It's a new cultural economy. Is my phrase. It's a phrase I've coined to represent the educational seed. See, I believe education is going to help because people can learn. It's a simple concept. I mean, people who want to complicate it, let them complicate it. If we can learn, if we can be educated, if we can learn to fight, we can learn violence, we can learn how to murder people, we can also learn to live peacefully. That is, for me, that is the peace formula. That is actually the key. The key now is hope. That people will make up their mind. They will get tired of war. They will get tired of destruction, of killing, and they're going to focus on peace. I believe there will come a time when human beings will decide to be humans. Again, right now, if you look at the way we behave, sometimes you wonder if we are actually humans. And there are people who actually have concluded that human beings are animals. And they can be forgiven. See, there are people who now don't put as much value on humanity as they used to, because the way human beings behave now is, even if you've seen me run away from something on the street, rest assured that I'm not running away from an animal. I'm running away from a human being. Now, if human beings are that dangerous, people now live with dogs and cats in this country. They call human beings strangers. The people of Britain call each other strangers. That's how dangerous we are to one another. And it's in Africa. I come from Africa. Don't get me wrong. In Africa, it's the same now. Africans are becoming really monsters. And that's who we are. Let us accept it. Human beings are oral stories. And they keep quiet. They just stare. They keep quiet and stare. And you think they are actually really, really cool. They look very, very cool. But we are so bad. We have become very, very, very bad people. And we do really, really terrible things. That's what we suffer. We deserve what we get. But there is hope, my friends. There is hope. Because people can, if we can learn to be bad, if we can learn to be strangers, we can learn to be friends. If we learn to be isolated individuals, we can be families. We can be friends. We can be society. We can form community. We can start thinking of. We can come back to being social animals, and also emotional animals. We have the intelligence. That's fine. Intelligence is there. That's why we can learn. That's why we are intelligent. This generation is very, very intelligent. In the head here, intellectual excellence. We are very clever generation. We have information. We train ourselves. We're very sharp. We're really, really good in that aspect. And we know how to create wealth. We are very, very smart. But let us use that to make peace, to develop other form of competence, like making friends, being social, being family, being society, thinking of other people, thinking of ourselves, yes, valuing ourselves, yes, valuing our property, looking after ourselves, looking after our environment, looking, reaching out to other people. That's how you make peace, other than making war. Why should Russia fight Ukraine? I mean, the writings on the wall. If somebody is not crazy, Ukraine are actually is a country full of humans. Okay, there are animals in Ukraine, but Russia is not fighting animals. Russia in Ukraine is fighting human beings. I mean, if you treat a human being worse than an animal, then you are actually insane. You are a psychopath. We are turning into a society of psychopaths. We are mad. We are telling America goes to the Middle East to fight Arabs. Who go take the military to Africa, American, army military bases all over the world. It's fighting, killing people. We are not killing wild animals. They are dictators in Africa. They don't go to hunt wild animals. They go to hunt fellow humans. And they kill humans like there is no tomorrow. People are really dying of hunger, of famine in Africa. The state is there. The European powers have told Africa not to look after Africans. They should build things. They should build roads. They should build streets. They should build infrastructure, means wealth. The only thing we think about is money and wealth. I have neighbors here, no hard feeling. I don't speak to them. They don't speak to me because I'm a stranger. I'm a stranger. If I wasn't a stranger, I would be speaking to them. They would be speaking to me. And this is a story across the globe. This is what globalization means. People who are horrible are coming together to even promote more havoc. People speak like liars, like cheats, like they call them um, what do they call them? They call them um, pathological liars, politicians, families, friends. They're lying to each other. They are really like, if you go to shop, you think they are your best friends. You wouldn't go. In fact, there are some customer service operatives. They are so smooth. They operate so smoothly. If you go to shops, especially in Europe, where I live, you will feel you come from a shop so happy. They are trained to be so nice, so smooth. They don't swear in shops. Politicians never swear in front of the camera. I am talking to the camera. I am not swearing. Maybe as soon as I switches off, I will start saying some really words you will not even associate with me. See, this guy is so nice over the camera, behind the camera. And you meet me in my house or when we are in the nightclub or something, you look at me and say, is it the same guy swearing, saying horrible things? We have become horrible people. We are hypocrites. We human. This is a critique on us, all of us. And if you hear people talking, I would be talking. I'm so good. And even now, when I speak, I am talking about other people. I'm not talking about me. I'm good. It's you outside, you are bad, but I'm a liar. It's not, I'm not telling the truth. I have to come to my senses. It's not, I am not talking the truth. We are the same. We are the same. We are horror stories. And because we learned how to be horror story, we have been fighting for so many years. The states, we have created this world through blood, through, I don't even know. We have turned tools into weapons. We have some of the worst weapons ever. Why? Are we telling the truth? Are we good? Look at the weapon, tanks, missiles, nuclear weapon, biological war. Who are we trying to fight? Human beings. Human beings are fighting each other, and we don't even know it. We have actually turned lies into an industry. We lie to ourselves. We teach ourselves to see our lies as a package of truth. See, lying is an industrial formulation. It's an industrial enterprise. We lie at an industrial scale. All of us, even children. A child is caught doing something. I didn't do it, mommy. I didn't do it, daddy. We can change. That is the hope. If I didn't know a secret that we could teach ourselves, we could make decisions to change, to begin to live differently. You think differently. You begin to make an effort to be good, to tell the truth. It's going to take time. It's not going to be overnight because we have gone so deep the other way, and humans will go extinct if we don't change now. If we don't start from this video, let us start the process of change now. Otherwise, perhaps this video is going to be the seed to save humanity. I am not saying that. Don't misquote me, but I have a feeling, because I don't think anybody is talking like I'm talking, that we humans are in a bad way. That is what created the cost of living. So it's not going to resolve the cost of living, but it could start helping now by people actually changing their mindset about work. People are the same principle of change and learning new things. Learning, not even new things, learning to do things differently. That is the secret. The secret of becoming a different person. You're one way you have the power to be the other person. And that's what I said. Let us talk freely as much as we can, because freedom is a relative term. There's nothing absolute in life. Let us use this channel. It's unique. I'm beginning to value this channel even more. Actually, I'm a visitor. I'm a family. I don't know this channel very well because I've been only 4 weeks doing something here, but I'm beginning to see that some really good thing is happening here. There are a lot of people who are speaking to me. They're really catching up with the idea. This channel is beginning to catch on a lot. We are so small, super small. Share this video with your family, with your friends, and campaign for the channel, because if it grows, then it's going to reach many people. Actually, it's going to generate even resources to promote this channel. The way to grow, the way to be seen, the way to be more productive is actually to subscribe, is to watch the video. I know people are very busy, but you cannot be busy at the expense of your life. Begin to value your life, value your work. Work as hard as, if you have to sleep at work, sleep. But if you're tired, if it means you need to beg your employer to take a break, which they still do. I don't know what is going to happen in 50 years or in 100 years. Employers will have absolute power over employee. It's now happening. That's one of the functions of the public sector, to actually create an environment of justice and fairness in employment. But now it's closing down, and there is no money for the public sector. So employers from now will start doing whatever they like. They will be above the law. Even the law is going to be set to support employers. We used to have laws in this country supporting employees, not anymore. That has gone, because we are closing down the social policy. We are closing down the social sector. We are closing down the public sector. Social sector is part of the public sector. Everything is disappearing because of public sector closing down. Everything which used to help poor people, price regulations, we used to afford things. With corporatization, something called within the global system, there is something called corporatization. Big businesses are going to be monopolies. They can decide to set prices. Actually, this is what they're going to do. They're going to shut down small and medium businesses. They only leave big businesses. Big businesses are going to create monopolies, which means they decide what to build and how to price them. They will actually, let me be bold. They are going to, because they are private companies. They are not really responsible for social policy at all. Social policy means society. Policy for society. Policy for society to help people who are poor. As simple as that. And this is the function of the public sector. It's gone. What we are left with is the private sector. This is what they're going to do. They are going to shut down small and medium businesses on the big business. They're going to shut down big businesses as well. They're going to leave enough for the rich people. Why? Because poor people will have no money. And the rich people don't have time for. There are only few. They are only about 10%. So let us take a car, for example. They're going to start making luxury cars costing millions of pounds. You can buy one car for $1 million. Poor people cannot even afford £10. Cannot afford £100. Maybe can't even afford £1,000. Is not able to buy maybe a car cash for £1,000 for 10,000. Millionaire will be buying a car for £1 million, one car, and that is food also for millionaires only. They are not going to be able to produce food for poor people. They're not going to do that. They're going to produce food. Organic food is now on the market. They're going to healthy food. They're going to produce it for the poor, for the wealthy, and maybe one orange for the rich may cost £10,000. And they can afford it. They are millionaires. They are organic oranges. That will be happening maybe the next 100 years. in probably 100 years, what I'm talking about might be happening. It's most likely going to happen, but it will be happening from now. It's now happening. Cars like Mercedes, BMW, Bentley, Rolls Royce, Ferrari. These are actually now evidence that there is an economy, a parallel economy for the rich. Those cars, poor people don't drive, including private jets, private trains. They're already here. So we are going to see more and more of those wealthy things, expensive goods and services. And we're going to be seeing less and less of poor things, goods and services for poor people. Because more and more poor people will be excluded from the economy. And if we are unlucky, if you don't get rich quickly, if you're poor, you are going to die. Simple as that. In 50 to 100 years, people will start dying. People are now dying. People are committing suicide now. Some people are actually dying in the hospital because they can't access the right medicine because of money. There's no money in the hospital. People are actually dying on hospital beds, on trolleys. Ambulance comes and takes people to the hospital. People actually die. People are now dying in Europe with a lot of money, with a lot of facilities, because they're not given to the hospital anymore. The hospital has to shut down. Only a few private hospitals will be left for the rich. So from now on, we'll be seeing the changes. I'm not saying it's not going to be there in the next 10 or 20 years. I'm now talking about understand what is happening now, because the reason things are the way they are because of change, and this change is going to get worse and worse for the poor and better for the rich. So the message for me is that in terms of the economy, start making money. It doesn't matter how little it is. Start thinking business. Start learning how to do business. What I'm trying to do is help you to start making up your mind, to be self-reliant in terms of material, but also start thinking how you can contribute toward peaceful living, because you can be rich and be a bad person. I'm talking about two things: development and culture. Development is actually making money and becoming rich. Do that. Something else we are not really doing much of is now cultural development, which is actually respect for ourselves, respect for others, which we can learn. We can educate ourselves. We can live peacefully, because we can be rich and be at war, which is what is now happening. People are fighting on the streets. They're shooting each other with guns. They justify it, or just not just justify it. That is the fact. We're killing each other. But I believe we can change and be peaceful, and that is through cultural roots, which mean education, teaching yourself, teaching each other, making up your mind. First of all, learn, change the way you think peace. It, psychologists say if you focus on something, you become that thing. If you focus on violence, on fighting, on just you fight wherever you go, that is your thinking. You build that. You can do the opposite. It doesn't matter how bad things are. You wake up one morning, focus on peace. That word. See it in your head. Peace. Peace. Today I'm going to be peaceful. Today I'm going to be peaceful. Today I'm going to be peaceful. If you're going to be mad, be mad. It's a peace lover. Be mad for peace. Some people say I'm madly in love. I'm all for that. I'm mad in rage. No. Because that leads to war. Be madly in love. Be madly in peace. Put it in your head. You have the power to change the world. Just one person. This channel has the power to change the world, because I speak something probably you have never heard. Maybe you say this guy is insane. I spoke to a lady earlier this year. She said she thinks I'm drunk. I said, I don't drink. I don't smoke drugs. I only drink water. I don't even take sugar these days. I drink water. I drink honey with liquid. My sister said, liquid. Some doctor told her liquid in honey is really unhealthy. I said, well, what am I going to drink? I like drinking tea. I don't like taking sugar, which means I will maybe have to drink my tea and coffee without any sweetener, or I should get something more as an alternative, because I like sweet teas anyway. So somebody saying I was insane. A lot of people. Some people say that actually I'm running. I'm getting. Like I'm losing my mind. I'm not. That is it. That is probably the only thing I'm sure of. I'm sure of many things, but I may doubt some things, but I'm not in doubt. My mind is sound, and what I'm telling you is true. I'm not telling you the way you are used to hearing people talking to you. But if you pay attention, if you pay closer attention, we are 1 hour into this video, which is fantastic. If you're watched up to this hour, then you give yourself a present. I won't be able to give you a present at the moment. Maybe one day. I'll subscribe to my channel and then pat yourself in the back. The government is talking about leveling up. The British government talk about leveling up. That means that we think the government is saying they are going to distribute wealth to us. They are going to help us to be rich. That is not true. The government will never do that, because the government has shut down the public sector. It's now focusing on the few and not the many. Leveling up means, because the conservatives are the ones saying it, at least if old Labour was the one, there's something called New Labour Party. New Labour and Old Labour. Old Labour is pro people. It's for the many and not the few. I'm not saying that is good or bad, but that's what you need to know. Conservative and the New Labour are pro business, few and not the many. Business means wealthy people. Simple as that. You have to simplify these things. Business means rich people. If you start doing business well today, you're going to be rich. That's simple as that. And the only difficulty is actual opportunity. But keep trying, keep striving. Even if you don't get rich, you will have a livelihood, a better livelihood than if you are working. If you are employed, if you have a good job, do it. I've said it before. You know, do it. Do whatever is available. Um, Support yourself and try your best. Get help even from the government. Get help from anybody who is really prepared to help you. Let them help you. The government is leveling up. That means it's taking money. No, we according to the rich, we used to steal money from them when we still had the public sector. We used to, because there's something called the distribution of wealth. Rich people are so offended by that concept because they see the poor as stealing their wealth because they don't give any. They are very selfish. Rich people are selfish. Poor people are also selfish, but because poor people understand poverty, at least a poor person is most likely to give because they can relate to the problem. If somebody say, I haven't eaten for 2 days, a poor people is going to give food to that person. A rich person won't. Some rich people might, but because they don't live with us. Even if good, some rich people are good, most of them are not. In terms of selfishness, when I say good or bad, I mean selfishness. I always mean something specific. Rich people are selfish. Poor people are also selfish, but rich people are worse because they don't know, they don't understand poverty. Most of them are born in wealth. When we say we are poor, they just think we are lazy. This thing, something is something we are insane. We are actually trying to abuse them by saying if they are rich, why are we not rich? They don't know it. We inherited poverty from our parents because there's a cycle of poverty and there's a cycle of wealth. The rich live in one country, the poor live in another. You see, their country has borders, and we are not allowed to enter there. Somewhere along the line, we can we can be there as potters or workers or drivers. We can access them. When they need us, we can go there. Maybe if you stay long enough near a rich person, maybe you will learn a thing or two. Maybe you can also be rich, but it's unlikely. I'm not talking about wealth. I'm talking about survival for now. Maybe in the future, but about wealth, I've also said, in the future with technology, technology will create wealth for free. There will be no economy. There will be no rich and poor. There will be no class, unless people do something funny and refuse to give wealth. I mean, people who control technology can willfully refuse access to other group of people. That's a different story. I'm not going to talk about that, especially now. That could happen. We people are still fighting. That's why I was talking about cultural economy. People can have much wealth. Everybody can be rich, but they will still be fighting. If they don't sort out the cultural economic situation, the concept I developed, the one I'm talking about, people should learn peace. That's simply what I'm meaning. Learn peace. It doesn't matter how rich you are. If you don't learn peace, there will be no peace. Wealth does not, well, it helps. It's almost like environmental factor. It helps, but it doesn't create peace. Culture, learning, education, information, the right one. Think correctly in your head. Think correctly in your head. Do the right thing. Think right. Think peace. Think love. Think care. Think respect. I've been talking to a few people recently about respect. People should have respect. I have to stop. Leveling up does not mean distribution of wealth. It means taking money from the poor and giving it to the rich. Because leveling up is a form of privatization. It's a privatization. It's leveling up is actually saying we are going to privatize the economy. And in the process, the money is stolen from you through nationalization. Because we are privatizing, we are taking it back. See, we are taking it back. We will take from the poor and giving you back to you, because the poor stole it from you through socialism. Now we are capitalists. We are giving your country back, a country to the rich. They're taking the country away from the poor and giving it to the rich through capitalism. Because socialists took the country away from the rich. And when David Cameron, former prime minister, conservative prime minister, said we are giving your country back, he was saying we are taking the country back from socialists and giving it back to capitalists. We are taking it back from the many and giving it back to the few, and they are doing that through privatization. So when the conservative person say we don't want big state, because big state take away your country, you the super rich, because you are born to rule, you're born to conquer, you're born to be rich, and the poor has no place. It's violent, and it's all cruel, and it is because that's why people fight, because we can be really horrible animals. Until we adopt the cultural economic progress, there will be no peace. So this channel could be the cure for the world. it looks it looks like nothing. This channel is actually nothing, but it is something, because what the thing I'm saying is really important. Because if we don't learn peace soon enough, it doesn't matter how rich we are going to use wealth. What are we using wealth for now? We are buying bombs, we are building tanks, we are actually creating biological weapon. COVID-19 could be a biological weapon. We don't know. We will never know what COVID-19 is, because we don't even believe what the government says, because they can choose what to say. We don't see, they're not transparent. We don't see what they do. When was the last time you saw the prime minister? When was the last time you saw a minister? They tell you what you want to know. We have absolutely, there's nothing like transparency. It's a myth. There is no transparency. In what way? You don't know. You know, they tell us there's COVID-19. We accept it if we want. If we don't, we don't. And we are right. We have the right. To that extent, we have the right. And we enjoy it, to believe what the government tells us and not to believe. COVID-19 could have been an experiment of a biological weapon. Viruses are being used as in biological warfare. Bacteria is being used. I don't know what else they're going to use for warfare. Maybe they're going to start recruiting wolves, elephants, wild animals. See, some people are now learning to domesticate wild animals. Maybe they're going to start using wild animals, bees, bats. They can modify bats with the venom of snake and start fighting with it. And they have done it before. You see, dogs are being used at war. We are using bad dogs to get landmines, or to catch criminals, or to catch people who are carrying drugs, or some kind of weapon, or to kind of arrest certain people. I mean, it's good, but it is proof that we are not at peace. We use anything for weapon. We use knives as weapon. We shouldn't, but we are doing it. That means that is evidence that we are bad people. We are bad to ourselves. We are bad to others. People commit suicide. They take their own life. Why do you take your life? If you are my son, if you are my wife, if you are my brother, my sister, how about me? If you kill yourself, I'm going to be hurt, because I love you. I need you. If you know I don't love you, I need you. Why do you kill yourself? Because you don't care about me. You don't even care about yourself. If you care about yourself, you are not going to commit suicide. And if you care about other people, even your dogs, because your dogs will also be lonely if you kill yourself. So we need to learn the cultural economy, the new cultural economy. That is the doctrine, that is the concept. We have to take it up the way you want, but it means education. It means changing our mind from war to peace. Let us be lovers of peace, of ourselves, of other people. Respect and respect and respect. I'll be coming back to this theme. The main reason I created this channel is promote freedom of speech to the extent that we have the capacity to speak freely. Let us do it. This is, you may not believe me, but this is actually part of the cost of living, because if you relate well with one another, if you live peacefully with yourself, even if you are poor, even if you struggle to get food, even if you struggle to get energy, you are going to have peace. You are going to gain strength. You're going to be more resilient. So this is a solution. This is actually a form of help for the cost of living. It doesn't mean you have to get money from the government, but you should get help from the government if you need to. If they're giving it, accept it. If you can get money from your friends, family, even stranger gives you something. If they are up, if you trust them, if their intention is good. We are humans. We are still human. We may be monsters, but we are still. There is a goodness in us. That's why I'm speaking. That's why there is hope. We are horrible, but we are also we are humans. We just choose. We have chosen to be bad, and we have proved that if we choose to do something, we are going to be very good at it. We are good at war. We are good at peace as well. We have done in the middle of orchestrating war. We have also done some really good things. We have helped the poor. We have created big cities, beautiful spaces. We are invested in technology. We are so resourceful. There are so many good things in the world, and yet good thing is hitting hand in hand with nasty, ugly things. The idea of peace is that we have to now focus more on peace than on war. And this is the message, this is the purpose of this channel. Thank you for supporting this channel. If you have listened up to now, give yourself a thumbs up. Give me a thumb up on the video on this channel. Support and subscribe, and share it with your family and friends. Give me feedback, and ring a notification bell. And thank you for watching. Thank you. God bless you.